This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When send past the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Thank you for joining me here. In about 15 minutes, the NBA draft lottery will be upon us. And folks, the New York Knicks have a 20% chance of receiving that Dallas Maverick pick. Not the highest of chances, but enough. Just enough, ladies and gentlemen, where we need to be interested. And in about 15 minutes on ESPN, they're going to hold that draft lottery, and we'll know a little bit more about what the New York Knicks will be doing in offseason. We'll have a little bit more intel about what the Knicks will be doing or what they might need to do. Of course, I'm hoping, really hoping, that they're able to get this pick, ladies and gentlemen. If they can get this pick, oh, man, you know, what the Knicks will have a chance to do during the offseason and during the draft will be crazy. Because that's a pretty high pick if they're able to get 11 or 12. They can do a lot with that. They can draft a player and pick up a player that addresses an area of need, because in this draft, which a lot of people are saying is going to be a deep draft, the Knicks may be able to find a player, ladies and gentlemen, at number 11. Or they can package it with the bevy of picks that they have in the closet and try to entice a team to trade away one of their star players. And with the way things are going in the NBA right now, there may be some available, ladies and gentlemen. The NBA today is a little bit crazy sometimes. Got players and coaches and moving all over the place all the time. You know what I mean? So let's hope that the Knicks can get this Mavs pick. They have a 20% chance of receiving the pick, ladies and gentlemen. And you can see right now on your screen, the Pistons, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Houston Rockets have the best chance to get the #1 overall pick. All right, they're all tied with a 14% chance to receive that pick. Below them is Charlotte with a 12.5% chance, and then Portland with a 10.5% chance. And remember, Portland, they're also going to have, I think, the 23rd pick, because the Knicks traded that 23rd pick to the Portland Trail Blazers for Josh Hart. So they'll have 2 picks in this draft. Orlando, they have a 9% chance to receive that #1 overall pick. The Washington Wizards, 6.8. Indiana, 6.7. Utah, 4.5. Dallas has a 3% chance of receiving the #1 overall pick. And they have a 13.9% chance of getting into the top 4. So, you know, Dallas is in a funny situation because, you know, they got a good chance to move up into the top 4, but they also have a pretty good chance to move out. I think they have like a 65% chance of getting the 9th pick. So, you know, who knows what's going to happen here, but there's enough of a chance for the Knicks to get that pick that we should be interested. OKC, it's a 1.8% chance. OKC moves up into the #1 slot. 8.5% chance that they move into the top 4. And with OKC, Chicago, and Toronto, as well as New Orleans, it's really important that we pay attention to these guys. All right, because in order for the Knicks to receive this Dallas Mavericks pick, one of these four teams have to move up. And I believe move up into that top four. All right, so if OKC, Chicago, Toronto, or New Orleans move up into that top four, that means Dallas slides down. So that's what we're hoping for, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're hoping for. Is for one of these four teams to slide up. And we'll know right off the bat because they're going to start from 14 and move up to number 1, right? So we'll know right off the bat within the first 4 picks if somebody moved up, and we'll have a chance to receive that Dallas Mavericks pick. All right, OKC, they have an 8.5% chance of moving up into the top 4, 1.8% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick. Chicago, and their pick goes to Orlando, so Orlando is going to have 2 picks in the lottery. And Orlando was 40-42, ladies and gentlemen. 40-42 this past season. And they're going to have 2 picks in the lottery. They've got a lot of, they've got a lot of capital there. I don't know how many stars would be requesting to go to Orlando, but if I was them, I wouldn't worry about stars requesting or trading for a star. I'd take this group of young players that I got and rock with them. As long as they can draft good, make some good decisions. You got a group of young guys that should be very talented. You know what I mean? 40-42. And they got 2 picks in the lottery this year. I'm sorry. Hold up. They were 34-48. Chicago was 40-42. My bad. Orlando was 34-48. But still, that's not bad. Because they have some young talent on that basketball team, and they're going to have 2 picks in this lottery. They'll have a chance within the next couple of years to be, they're over. Listen, they were tough last year. And I'm sorry, Chicago was 40-42. I just want to make sure people understand that I understand that. Right? Chicago was 40-42. But Orlando, still at 34-48, it's not terrible. We'll have a chance to get 2 draft picks in this lottery in what many consider to be a very deep draft. They may come out of this looking pretty good. And then Toronto, they got a 4.8% chance to move into the top 4. 1% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick. And then New Orleans at 42-40, they have a 2.4% chance of getting into the top 4. And then a 0.5% chance of grabbing that number 1 overall pick. So, for the Knicks, ladies and gentlemen, here's what it's looking like. The Mavs have a 19% chance to fall to number 11 and a 1.2% chance to fall to number 12. The chance that they fall to number 12 is pretty slim, right? But that 19% chance to number 11, that's pretty high. Now, if the Knicks do not get the Dallas pick tonight, they will acquire Dallas's first-round pick in either 2024 or 2025. Both of those first-round picks are also protected from numbers 1 through 10. So if Dallas ends up with a top 10 draft pick in both 2024 and 2025, the Knicks will not receive a first-round pick from the Mavs. And in this scenario, they would receive Dallas's 2025 second-round pick. Who knows what's going to happen with the Dallas Mavericks? They should, if they receive a top 10 pick, 9 or 10 or higher, the Mavericks should be a competitive team next year. in my opinion. I don't know what's going to happen with Kyrie Irving, but with Luka there, I mean, the Mavs could have they could have fought and battled to try to get into that play-in. I believe that. It went to crap towards the end, of course. It really did. It went to crap. But next year's a new year. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that the Knicks they'll receive this first round pick at some point, unless it just blows up in the face of the Mavs. Everything just blows up. But I believe the Knicks will get this first round pick, not this season. I'm not saying this season, but at some point, I believe the Knicks will get this first round pick. I hope that it doesn't turn into a 2025 second round pick. I hope it doesn't, but, what can you do if it does? Not much you can do about it. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. 20% chance the Knicks get the Mavs pick. 19% chance that the Mavs fall to number 11. 1.2% chance that the Mavs fall to number 12. And if the Knicks get this pick, if somehow, some way the Knicks get this pick, it's hard. I don't know what the Knicks would do. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know if the Knicks would choose to draft the player or move on. Because look, listen, if they get the pick, it's a first round pick. So if they draft the player, it's not going to go against their cap. They'll be able to go over the cap to pay the player if they have to. So that's not going to be an issue at all. It's not going to be an issue. Salary cap wise. Roster spot wise, that's where the issue is. Because the Knicks, for the most part, seem to be kind of set with their 15-man roster. Now, things can change. I do believe, though, if the Knicks get this pick and they feel strongly about somebody in the draft, you'll see some people move. And maybe it's at the end of the bench that people move. Obviously, Derrick Rose will probably be gone. So that's a roster spot that can open up there. Right? If they find somebody that they really do like. The Knicks have got to make a decision on Derrick Rose this summer. And, I understand this, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later as we discuss the Knicks' priorities for the offseason. And later on this week, I will be doing a Knicks offseason guide, right, so that we can look at the salary cap and players available for trade and players' individual salaries and all of that kind of stuff, right? Draft picks and all of that. But, the Knicks would, if they choose to pick up Derrick Rose's option, they'll be paying him $15 million next season. And a lot of people on the outside would look and say, oh, man, they're crazy to pick up that option. But Tony Crow broke it down for me pretty good and explained it to me, with what he was thinking. And I agree with Tony. It might be a good idea for the Knicks to pick up the option. James Dolan isn't worried about, in my opinion, he's not worried about $15 million. So if the Knicks pick up the option for Derrick Rose, then they have that $15 million to use to make a trade. If they decide not to pick up the option, then they don't have, they'll have money that they can spend in free agency, but they won't have money to make a trade. They won't have that $15 million to make a trade. So I think it's going to depend on what the Knicks see. Can they foresee anything happening? What are the rumors? What are other execs saying? Things like that. The good thing is they don't have to make a decision until after the draft, I believe. A couple days after the draft. So with that being said, the Knicks can actually move Derrick Rose during the draft if something were to come about. Right? And, then that other team would have to decide on Derrick Rose and whether or not they want to pick up his option. Now, if there's nothing out there and the Knicks don't foresee anything happening, then maybe they don't pick up his option. But with the way that the MCA, I don't know what I was going to say, but the way that the NBA moves nowadays, anything could happen at any time. And as you're looking at, what's going on in the NBA right now, with coaches being fired. I mean, when you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, Doc Rivers was fired today. And with Doc Rivers being fired and Mike D'Antoni being someone who is of interest as being the next head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, that leaves the question, could Joel Embiid become available? What else might happen in Philadelphia? Are there moves? Are there ways? Are there players that the Knicks can pick from Philadelphia, via trade, so on and so forth, to help boost their team? Because I'm going to tell you, it's hard for me to see Mike D'Antoni being able to use Joel Embiid. I don't see it happening. Mike D'Antoni we know Joel Embiid can shoot from three, but he's not a post-up guy. You dig what I'm saying? He's not gonna use Joel Embiid in that way. I don't see how that works. So if he ends up in Philadelphia, Joel Embiid maybe becomes available. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he becomes available. Would he be a good fit for the Knicks? We'll see. I don't know. That'd be a very good topic to discuss, ladies and gentlemen. But the NBA draft lottery is upon us. Listen, we're going to have a lot of time to get into everything that's going on in the league. Trust me, a lot of time. So we got the entire offseason to break it down. And I think this is going to be an exciting offseason, ladies and gentlemen, because I think there's going to be a lot of things happening this offseason. And the Knicks may be right in the middle of it. You know what I'm saying? But the lottery is upon us. It's about to start in just a couple of minutes. Okay? And we're going to follow along and see if the Knicks end up with this draft pick of the Dallas Mavericks. Victor Wembanyama, of course, is, he's the prize. You know what I mean? He's the prize. And I don't know who I'd rather see him go to be honest with you. I know everyone that's there right now is hoping and praying that they find a way that the basketball gods bless them with that number one pick so they can get Victor. You know what I'm saying? I know they are, but only one team's going to come away with them. You got Detroit, San Antonio. Who else was up there? Let me bring this back real quick. Detroit, San Antonio, Houston. I don't know. One of those three teams, it's possible that one of those three teams are going to be very, very happy at the end of today. And, there's no question in my mind that whoever gets that number one pick is going to draft Victor Wembanyama. You know what I'm saying? They're going to draft him. There's no question in my mind. So I would, there's going to be people, they're going to get calls. Hey, are you willing to trade? Nobody's trading the pick at all. Nobody's trading that pick. And if you look down below me, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see the NBA draft lottery order. I'll be updating it as we go, so you can follow it there if you're just joining me. All right. And, the reveal is going to happen in like 15 minutes. So I guess they're probably in the back right now going over doing the whole lottery ball thing and all of that kind of stuff. So for the next 15 minutes, let's talk about the Knicks and their offseason priorities. Okay? Now, the offseason starts right now. This is the first thing that the Knicks have to worry about. Where do they fall in? Are they going to fall anywhere in the draft? Not where. Are they going to fall anywhere in the draft? It's the first thing they have to worry about. And from here, they can start to manufacture a plan on how they want to address the offseason. Okay, but here are my priorities for the Knicks. This is what I think the Knicks should be, where they should be focused. Number one, you got to decide on Josh Hart, Derrick Rose, etc. Okay? Josh Hart, he's got a $12.9 million team option and player option. It's a weird contract. You don't see it like this too much. It's a weird type of a contract. Okay? The Knicks have until, I think, June 24th, whatever it is, to choose to, whether or not they're going to pick up Josh Hart's option. Josh Hart can also choose to opt out. Now, if he opts out, then the Knicks won't be able to pick up the option. If Josh Hart says, okay, well, I'll take the $12.9 million, then the Knicks will be able to decide whether or not they want to pick up his option. So it's different. Very different. The Knicks have to figure that out. In my mind, I believe the Knicks didn't trade away a first-round draft pick to let Josh Hart go. He's valuable. His defense, his rebounding, his hustle. Those things really did help to propel the Knicks in the second half of the season. Okay? In the playoffs, I think some of his flaws got exposed. His reluctance to shoot the ball with a quick trigger, I think that got exposed. Something that he should be working on during the offseason. I don't think he's a strong ball handler, right? Because while Miami was applying pressure to the Knicks, I wasn't comfortable with Josh Hart being there to help break the pressure, right? I was way more comfortable with RJ, especially, when Emmanuel quickly went out. There was nobody. There was nobody that can help handle that pressure, and I wasn't comfortable with Josh Hart doing it. Right, so that was one of the flaws that was exposed. But I think the biggest flaw was the lack of a trigger. And listen, the guy can shoot. Right? He can shoot. In round one, he shot like 40-something% from the three-point line. But he doesn't shoot a lot. You know what I mean? So it's not in volume. I guess the question would be, how does he shoot the ball when it's in volume? But there's no doubt in my mind the Knicks want to keep Josh Hart and that they are going to make sure that he's signed, part of this team. They'll, start negotiating whenever, soon. But there's no doubt in my mind the Knicks want to keep Josh Hart. Derrick Rose. We talked about Derrick Rose a little bit earlier on. The Knicks have got to make a decision about Derrick Rose. What are they going to do? Do you keep Derrick Rose around so that you can have him for trading purposes, so you can have that salary for trading purposes? Because right now, there's some things happening in the offseason already. And if you pick up that option by June 24th, when free agency hits and things start going down in the league, you have that contract to be able to trade. Now, if they decide to not pick up his option, then I think they'll have a $12 million exception that they can use. And once you sign that guy, after maybe you have 30 days, once you sign a player, maybe you have 30 days to be able to include that player in trades. After that 30 days, you're not going to be able to move him until like December. So that's a tricky one. And it really does take the Knicks having their ear to the ground to figure out what's happening throughout the league to know whether or not they're going to pick up Derrick Rose's contract or not. Now, there's some other decisions that I don't think you have to make right away. Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin, they may be up for extensions. I'm not exactly sure of the date, but it may be somewhere around October that you have to make a decision by. So you don't have to rush with those guys, right? And you have them under contract for a whole nother season. Now, when you get to the end of next season, you got to make a decision about both of those players. But you don't have to this year. I think Miles McBride, he makes $1.8 million. There's a team option for $1.8 million. The Knicks will have to make a decision about that. But, you know, it's probably not going to be their first priority. Right? Because I don't think Deuce has earned a $5 or $6 or $7 million contract yet. So you can probably still get Deuce for $1.8 to $3 million a year, which turns out to be nothing in the grand scheme of things. Turns out to be nothing, you know, to the Knicks' salary. So I don't think he's going to be at the top of the list right now. Once the draft is finished, they may say, hey, let's get him first because we can throw Deuce into trades as well. So there's always this trade thing that's out there in the way that you can use salaries. Okay. The next thing I think the Knicks need to address, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't really in any particular order. I think it's very hard to put your priorities in order during the offseason. These are just things I think need to be addressed. Because putting it in order, it can happen in any order. All right? But shooting, the Knicks really need to address shooting. And I'm not sure how. It'd be nice if you could couple a player that can do a couple of these things, bring in a player that can do a couple of these things. But shooting, I mean, it was so evident throughout these playoffs on how bad the Knicks shooting really is. Throughout the season, it was up and down. They'd go through stretches where they're shooting the ball really, really well from the three-point line. Then they'd go through stretches where they couldn't hit the ocean from a boat in the middle of it. You know what I mean? And when they got into the playoffs, that's what it was like. They couldn't knock down a three for nothing. I don't know if it was the pressure or just bad shooting. Both of them, I guess. Because this is something that I always say. And I always tell my players, what you practice, the habits that you practice, the habits that you build is what your body falls back on in moments of pressure. So when you build good habits, when you receive pressure, your body's going to fall back on those good habits. If you build bad habits in moments of pressure, your body's going to fall back on those bad habits. And I feel like with this team, with the pressure of the playoffs and the pressure of the defenses with Cleveland and Miami, the Knicks played two very good defensive teams in the first two rounds. That pressure, their body fell back to, you know, whatever it was up here, whatever it was mechanically, fell back to bad shooting. So the Knicks need some flamethrowers out there. They need some guys that can knock it down like that's what they do. Specialist, at least one, a specialist that can knock down the three like Duncan Robinson was knocking them down. Duncan Robinson had me scared every time the ball touched his fingertips. Because I felt like it was going down every time, and every shot looked like it was on the money. So the Knicks really need to address that shooting. Number 3, ball handling. Again, this is in no particular order, but ball handling. Man, the way the Miami Heat were able to pressure the Knicks, it was rough. It was rough. And I really felt for Jalen Brunson because he received the grunt of that pressure. The Miami Heat had several different game plans in this series, and one of them was to take away Jalen Brunson, not allow him to get the offense started, not allow Jalen Brunson to be the engine, make somebody else be the engine. That was one of their game plans, and they did a very good job of it. Full court pressure. Gabe Vincent, whoever else, Jimmy Butler. Full court pressure. In game 6, double teams. Full court. Not letting him get the ball on the inbound. They threw everything at Jalen Brunson. And to his credit, Jalen Brunson took all the blows and still dropped 38-41. That's star stuff right there. But the Knicks need other people that can handle the ball and create competently, create for themselves and others. They've got to have some other people that can do it. I know they missed Emmanuel quickly in the second half of the series. But they need ball handling bad, in my opinion. Really, really bad. You got to have another ball handler out there. And Tom Thibodeau was reluctant to use Deuce McBride. I think they need a solid wing that can defend and shoot. Hopefully this wing, they can get a wing. That wing can shoot the ball, can handle the ball. Right? A solid wing. And I'm thinking more of a 3-6-8 guy that can shoot and defend. I'm not confident with Josh Hart being there as a starter. He's 6'4". Then, RJ's 6'7". I'd like to have some more length there, especially with Jalen Brunson being short. And then, of course, we need the shooting. And maybe this guy can also help handle the ball, create a little bit. And I don't know who it is, where you get it from. And then number 5, man, watch the trade market for disgruntled stars. And yes, that means that there's going to be some people that have to go if you're going to get one of these disgruntled stars, if it comes to be. Julius Randle, RJ Barrett. Only person that's not untouchable is Jalen Brunson. But the market could be there, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to come back to the Knicks offseason priorities, talk about them some more. I want to get some thoughts from the chat. But right now, the draft is about to start, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to go ahead and get to the draft right now. They're talking about the people who's on the kiosk for the particular teams. All right, they just showed Tyrese Halliburton for the Indiana Pacers, Jamal Mosley for the Orlando Magic. All right, you have Brandon Roy for the Portland Trailblazers. Brandon Roy, ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Roy that guy was supposed to be a star, man. Mark Williams for the Charlotte Hornets. Peter J. Holt. Ime Udoka for the Houston Rockets. He's going to be their new coach. Ben Wallace for the Detroit Pistons. So, and I don't know, I must have missed some people there, but it's about to start, ladies and gentlemen. We are now going to see if the Knicks will have a chance to become, well, not to become, I don't know what I'm talking about. Become what? Well, will the Knicks have a chance for this 11th seed? We're going to find out, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to find out in just a minute or two. So here we go. They're getting ready to announce it now. And of course, they're going to start with the 14th pick. All right. And with the 14th pick, as soon as my man decides that he's going to announce it, I'll let you know. The New Orleans Pelicans, as planned. And then the Toronto Raptors. And then it's OKC. And then number 11 is Orlando. Oh, shoot. Is that who? Oh, that's who it's supposed to be. I thought somebody moved up for a second. So number 10, ladies and gentlemen, are the Dallas Mavericks. And there you have it. I don't know. I got excited for no reason. I don't know why I got excited, but there you have it. So the Knicks will not be getting that number 11 pick or 12 pick. I got tricked for a second. Didn't mean to trick you, but I got tricked. And we'll go ahead and get the rest of the order up there. Let's see. Who am I missing right now? You got the Jazz at 9, the Wizards at 8, the Pacers at 7. Moving a little bit too fast for me to be able to get it in there. And then you have the Pistons at 5. And I know that's got to be a blow for the Pistons, ladies and gentlemen, coming in at 5. That's definitely a blow for the Pistons. And they're going to a break so that they can get to the top 4. But, oh, man, if I'm the Pistons, I'm hurting right now, to be honest with you. Because you had the worst record in the league, and you come in at, that's a tough one for the Pistons, folks. That's a tough one for the Pistons. And you should have seen the way that Ben Wallace looked when they announced him. You know, that was a blow. Well, so who's left? Who moved up? Who actually moved up? You have the Orlando Magic at number 6. Then you have the Detroit Pistons. So you have left, you have the San Antonio Spurs. You have the Houston Rockets. You have the Charlotte Hornets. And I guess the Portland Trail Blazers moved up. So maybe the Portland Trail Blazers moved up to number 4. I don't know. They could have moved up to number 1. Because everybody else is pretty much where they're supposed to be. Right? The Wizards dropped down to 8. Indiana went up to 7. Orlando's at 6, where it was projected. Yeah, so it's Portland, it's Charlotte, it's Houston, it's San Antonio. That's who's left. Wow, we'll see if the Portland Trail Blazers, if they leapfrogged and made it up into the top 3 or not. So the New York Knicks will not be receiving Dallas's first-round pick, ladies and gentlemen. So where do the Knicks go now when it comes to the draft? Right? Where do they go now? They don't have a draft pick. So to bring in fresh new talent, they're going to be relying on trades. They're going to be relying on free agency. They're going to be relying on maybe unsigned free agents or unsigned, draft picks that didn't get signed. or that didn't get drafted, undrafted free agents. There you go. I found the words finally. And G League players. Right? G League players. So that's how the Knicks are going to bring in fresh blood. Because I think the Knicks, like I said, we were just talking about what the Knicks need. What their offseason priorities need to be: shooting, ball handling. You know what I mean? I think a 3-man, a wing player. They've got to, I think they need to address those things. And then if there's a star player available, put the heat on and get that guy if it's the right guy. If it's the right guy. It can't just be anybody. It's got to be the right guy. But the draft will not be a part of the Knicks offseason for the most part. Now, this doesn't mean that the Knicks can't make trades during the draft, because who knows what's going to happen. For example, people are talking about James Harden and, going back to Houston. If Houston somehow gets that number 1 pick, maybe James Harden is like, let me go join. Let me come over here. Let me go back to Houston and see what's going on. And then that changes everything for the Philadelphia 76ers. If Charlotte ends up getting that number 1 draft pick, maybe Miles Bridges is available. I don't know how many people are interested in Miles Bridges with his, things that are going on with him, but maybe he's available. Right? So there's a lot of things that can happen, ladies and gentlemen, during the draft. You're going to have guys like Chicago's not having a pick. And who knows what Chicago is going to be looking to do. Right? So without Chicago having a pick, guys like DeMar DeRozan might be available. I don't know how interested I am in DeMar DeRozan. He does fit that 3 spot, but he doesn't shoot the ball. Zach might be available. So, there's a lot of things that can happen during the draft. And I do think the Knicks will be active. Will something come to be? Who knows? But I think they'll be active during the draft. And they may even find a way, if there's a player that they like, I'm sure the Knicks will still be present at the combine. I'm sure the Knicks will still be on the phone making calls and all of that stuff. You know what I mean? Because they can always trade up into the first round, possibly trade up into the first round. Right? They can maybe couple some second round draft picks to try to get 1 draft pick, 1 second round draft pick for this year. There's things the Knicks can do. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. Let's see who the top 4 is. You got the Rockets, you got the Spurs, you got the Hornets, and you got the Portland Trail Blazers. Let's see who's going to be next. I'm pretty sure all of them are nervous right now. I know. When the Knicks were in this position, I was nervous. And number 4 goes to the Houston Rockets. Wow. So the Portland Trail Blazers, ladies and gentlemen, have moved up into the top 3. And the Portland Trail Blazers have number 3. Number 2, the second pick, goes to the Charlotte Hornets, which means the San Antonio Spurs have the number 1 pick. Can you believe it? And there is your draft order, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. The Spurs, Thomas Banks, you said it right. The Spurs did it again. They did it again. They now have the number 1 draft pick. Wow. San Antonio, man. So Wembanyama's going to be with Pop. Probably the best guy for him to be with. You're going into the league. You come into a situation where Greg Popovich has been there for years and years and years upon years. One of the top 2 coaches in the NBA, probably the best coach in the NBA. There's no threat of Pop leaving anytime soon. You know what I mean? And he goes to Tim Duncan is on the staff. You know what I mean? A really nice situation for Wembanyama. That's a nice situation for Wembanyama. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The 2023 NBA draft order. First pick of the draft, San Antonio Spurs. Number 2, Charlotte Hornets. Number 3, the Portland Trail Blazers. Number 4, the Houston Rockets. Number 5, the Detroit Pistons. Number 6, Orlando Magic. Number 7, Indiana Pacers. Number 8, the Washington Wizards. 9 is the Utah Jazz. Number 10, the Dallas Mavericks. Number 11, Orlando Magic. The Magic, yes, they have 2 draft picks in the lottery. Number 12, OKC. 13 is the Toronto Raptors. And number 14 are the New Orleans Pelicans. And Portland, ladies and gentlemen, they moved up to the 3rd pick, from the 5th pick to the 3rd pick. And they also have the Knicks number 23 pick. So, there you go. That is the draft order for this year's NBA draft. And I'm going to change this marquee down below because, the Knicks no longer have a chance to get the number 1 or get the Mavs pick. So, we change that. We get that up out of there. All right. And a projected draft order or your projected top 10 picks, you see them scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now. All right. So let's get back to now looking at the Knicks and their offseason priorities. I got a couple more minutes here, ladies and gentlemen. A couple more minutes. Because now we have a little bit more intel into the Knicks and how they might be looking to move during the offseason. All right, we left off on number 5. Watch the trade market for disgruntled stars. And there's people out there, you're going to hear rumors all summer long. All right, all summer long, you're going to hear rumors. And the number one rumor, the number one thing that most people are going to say, Sam, you got it wrong. The first thing that the Knicks got to do is look to trade Julius Randle. That's what everyone is. Not everyone. A lot of people are going to say. Right? And I'll just say this. To that, I'll just say this. If the right player is out there to make the trade, you make the trade. Bottom line. You know what I'm saying? If you're talking about, a top 10 player, you're talking about a super duper star, you make the trade. That's easy. Easy peasy. If you're talking about something that's, apples for apples, not interested. Doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Doesn't make sense. I'm not just going to trade a guy just because. That's not how it goes. You gotta be calculative. You got to calculate. You got to see what's out there. How does it fit with your roster? Make the right moves. See what your draft compensation is going to look like or what kind of compensation you're giving out. All of those things come into play. You know what I'm saying? You got to be smart. Let's not, people want to do stuff out of emotion. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's smart. So I don't think that should be the number one thing at all. Obviously, if something comes to be, then, you take advantage of it. But I will say this, the questions and the worries, it's warranted about Julius Randle. It's warranted. He's had his issues with the crowd, with the fans. He's, shown that he can be volatile. He hasn't shown up in the playoffs. He's only been in the playoffs twice, 3 playoff series under his belt. But he's shown so far he hasn't been able to step up to the plate. But this is a team, though, I think, you got to give it a go next season because they're rising up. I mean, you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, man. 5 of the last 6 years, they've been to the Eastern Conference semifinals, and they haven't been able to get over the hump. One year they went out in the first round. But that's a team that's plateaued. And I don't think you go that long before you decide that the team is plateaued. Like, they went 6 years of getting to the Eastern Conference finals. The Eastern Conference semifinals. And not getting past that point. And what did they do? After, 2 years, they went to the semifinals. And then the next year, they went out in the first round. They changed coaches to Doc Rivers. Right? Doc Rivers hasn't been able to get past that second round. So now they're changing coaches again. Right? You hit that point where you plateau. I think, with this team here, you give it a go because they're still rising up. You give it a go. Next year, they don't get better. Say, all right, you know what? Maybe we need to make moves. Or if they do get better, you might say, all right, let's see if we can take another. What do we need to add to take another step? And you figure it out. Maybe we need to add someone who can score in the clutch. Maybe we need to add this, add that. You know what I mean? But a lot of people are very, very, very quick to want to break down a lot of things. You know what I mean? And the only way you do that, I think, is when you got those major guys. For example, if Giannis was available, you do it all day. If Devin Booker was available, you do it all day. We got a lot of time to talk about it. I'm not sure about Embiid. And some people are going to say, yeah, definitely you do it all day. I'm not sure about Embiid. Not because he's not a good player. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? If Jason Tatum was available, which he never will be, if he was available, you do it all day. Brown, you probably do that all day too. Right? There's certain guys where, boom, that's what you do. And Randall would be, the guy, one of the two guys that would be the primary person that you're discussing in those trade talks. Yeah, but if you're just talking about, Jeremy Grant, are you really getting better? I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? You got to make sure you're doing something that gets better. But this team has shown a lot of promise, man. The team has shown a lot of promise, and, I think you got to be smart and calculative when you're making moves. But you still do have to make some moves to get better. You got to keep trying to get better. Figure out your weaknesses and address them. That's why I think shooting and ball handling are two big weaknesses of this basketball team. Two big weaknesses. That wing spot, that wing position to me can alleviate your shooting issues. Not alleviate, but really help with your shooting issues and help with your ball handling issues. One guy, one player can help in those situations, I think. But those are my offseason priorities right there, ladies and gentlemen. Knicks are nice, said Kuz or Zach. You know what? Kuz, he's got a decent contract, I think. He's a young guy. I wouldn't mind Kuz. Zach, you know what I mean? See, Kuz is maybe a guy, depending on what the Washington Wizards are doing, he might be a guy that you can get by just moving Rose or Fournier and draft picks or something like that. You may not have to give up a Randall or an RJ. You may be able to add them to the group. You know what I mean? Where does that get you? I think it gets you better. Does it get you to the Eastern Conference Finals? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because at some point, you got to have another guy with Brunson that is definitely going to show up in the playoffs. You know you got to have that guy because you see the way the defenses are. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't mind Kuz. I like his size. He can shoot the ball. You know what I'm saying? He can help handle the ball. He checks some boxes, I think. I think he does. I definitely think he checks some boxes. That's a little bit of a move that you could look at it and say, hey, maybe this is something that works. The Cooler said, isn't Kuzma playing power forward? But I think he can play some 3 too. I think you can move him back and forth between those two positions. You know what I mean? And I think, a guy like Kuzma gives your lineup some flexibility too, as far as, playing with the second unit and doing some things like that. So I think he can play a couple of positions, or at least 2 positions out there. He could be a guy that the Knicks look at. Right? And he checks those boxes. I wouldn't expect a crazy offseason from the Knicks. Well, I'll say this. If teams start to break down, then who knows what could happen. They start to break down. If they're not breaking down, Philadelphia, they find a coach, and James Harden and Joel Embiid are happy with the coach and all that good stuff, then, Joel Embiid's not going to be available. I don't know how crazy I am with Joel Embiid anyway, to be honest with you. And if you're talking about trading Joel Embiid, Randall for Joel Embiid, you've got to probably add Mitchell Robinson in that trade too, because, unless you're going to bring Mitchell Robinson off the bench behind Joel Embiid, I don't know. So then that's another thing you got to look at. There's a lot of talk out there right now about Karl Anthony Towns. Every summer there's a lot of talk about Karl Anthony Towns. Always. And like I said on Tody's show the other day, for Karl Anthony Towns, to me, it makes sense. If you're going to trade Julius Randle for Karl Anthony Towns and you still have Mitchell Robinson, I feel like you're in the same exact spot. I don't feel like you really got better. Right? Because, there's a lot of question marks about Karl Anthony Towns and his work ethic and all that kind of stuff too. Right? That's the whole reason that Jimmy Butler and all that stuff happened in Minnesota with Jimmy Butler and all of that. So I'm not sure. I don't know. If you're doing Karl Anthony Towns and you're adding him with Julius Randle, that makes a little bit more sense to me, right? Because he can play the center spot. He can spread the floor. Both of those guys can shoot the 3 ball at least well enough. So now the floor can be a little bit more open, right? That makes sense to me. But then, of course, Minnesota, what are they going to do with Mitchell Robinson and Rudy Gobert? Right? So now you're talking about a 3-team trade. And how does that work? You know what I'm saying? If you did trade Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle, I still feel like you got to bring in. We need a 5-man that can shoot. I love Mitch. You know what I'm saying? I love Mitch, and I love what he did for us, especially in that Cleveland series. But, man, I really wish Mitch could just shoot the ball, man. You know what I'm saying? Because Mitch's lack of shooting clogs that. If you go back and listen to Bam Adebayo, he said the Miami Heat's entire objective defensively was when Randall or Jalen Brunson got the ball to shrink the floor. That was their entire objective. Shrink the floor. You know what I'm saying? So when Brunson got the ball, He tried to get into the paint. They wanted three or four guys around him, which is seen frequently. When Randle got the ball, they wanted three guys queuing in on Julius Randle. And if he felt like he had an open shot, they wanted two guys jumping at Julius Randle. They wanted to shrink the floor. And that's exactly what they did. And when you have a guy like Mitch that doesn't shoot the ball, and can't shoot, and then you had times when you had Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson out there at the same time, and Josh Hart is a little reluctant to shoot the ball. Mitchell Robinson's not going to shoot the ball. Where do you go offensively? You can't move offensively. You know what I mean? So this is why having a three that can shoot the ball that you can put out there on the floor and defend, having a center that can shoot the ball even just a little bit. Hartenstein stopped shooting the ball this season. He started off shooting it. He wasn't hitting it. He stopped shooting it. A center that can shoot, a three that can shoot. You know what I'm saying? RJ, he doesn't hit it like that, but he's going to shoot it still when he's open. Brunson can hit it. Now, all of a sudden, I think the floor opens up a little bit more. You know what I mean? You know, D. Coolis, I agree. Mitch played. If Mitch doesn't do what he did against the Cavs, the Knicks might not have advanced versus the Cavs. So I agree. Mitch played a heck of a series against the Cavs. His offensive rebounding was critical. The Knicks were also just better than the Cavs. With Mitchell Robinson, they were just better. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like we need some shooting from that position. I just feel like we do. We need shooting from that position so that we can open up the floor for whoever's out there, even if it's not Randle. Let's just say you traded Randle for Cat. And if you still got a guy like Mitchell Robinson there, the same thing is going to happen. The teams are going to shrink the floor. You know what I'm saying? We got to figure out a way to open that up. Got to figure out a way to open it up. And, of course, that's not easy. You know what I'm saying? And I thought that Isaiah Hartenstein was going to be that guy. I really did. I thought Isaiah Hartenstein was going to be the guy that opened up the floor for us. You know what I'm saying? But it didn't. And he stopped shooting the ball. He stopped shooting it. Now, he does hit the little floater from time to time. When it's available to him, he'll shoot the floater and he'll hit it. You know, but we need somebody who's not always going to be in the dunker spot. And someone who can stretch the floor out. When you look at Miami, a lot of times they played small against us, right? When Kevin Love went out the game, and now Kevin Love is a big man that can shoot, and although Bam doesn't shoot the ball from three, he can shoot the mid-range, so that still opens the floor up a little bit, right? Because at least he can get the ball at that mid-range spot, and you got to defend him because he'll pull it, which allows for backdoor cuts under the basket, right? But when Kevin Love went out, they went small. So you got four guys around the perimeter and one guy in the box, which made the floor open up, right? And then Jimmy Butler was doing his post-up thing. The Knicks were sending double teams, and then the ball was whipping around the perimeter to open shooters. You know, they wasn't always hitting it. You know, they only shot like 30% from the three-point line, but they hit it enough. With the Knicks, you know what I mean? Like, Randle will catch the ball at the elbow or at the foul line area, but Mitch is still kind of down under the box. You know, at the box, under the basket, in the dunker spot. You know what I mean? So now you don't have, you know what I mean, that, you know, Bam Adebayo, if he's guarding Mitch, all he has to do is be one step away from Mitch, and he's got a foot in the paint. Ready to guard that. So, you know, we got to figure that out. And I'm not blaming Mitch about anything. I would love for us to figure that out while keeping Mitchell Robinson. You know what I mean? I would love for us to be able to do that. But I think that's an issue that we may have to address. And that goes along with the shooting, you know? So, the Knicks got some work to do during the offseason, ladies and gentlemen. And, I'm going to be here for the Knicks offseason report. Look for that. And it's something about the offseason. All right, I'm going to be doing later on this week, I'm going to do an offseason guide where we break down the salary caps. We break down the individual salaries of each player. We break down the Knicks draft compensation. That's why tonight was important for the Knicks, so that they knew what their draft compensation looked like. We're going to break down, which players, what their contracts look like as far as like Josh Hart, Derrick Rose, and those guys who could become free agents this summer. We're going to look at what's on the trade market. We'll take a look at these priorities again, and use that as our guide. You'll be able to go back to that video and check it out as we move along through the offseason. We're also going to do a review of the season. We're going to do keep 'em or dump 'em. The keep 'em or dump 'em is going to be crazy. I don't even know if we should do a keep 'em or dump 'em for Jalen Brunson. We know the answer to that. But when we do the Julius Randle, it's going to be fireworks. You already know that. That's going to be fireworks. RJ might be a little bit of fireworks too. Mitch, but when we do the Julius Randle keep 'em or dump 'em, that's going to be super fireworks. And of course, the entire offseason, I'll be on 2 or 3 times a week doing a live show, just giving you an update of everything that's going on. You'll see some separate videos, smaller videos of, breaking news and things like that. All right, so just make sure you stay on it, stay updated, because we'll be going all summer long. You know what I mean? All summer long. My man Jarrell in the building said upgrades are needed, so anyone could go. Your favorite player will just play for another team, and you will get a new favorite. Yeah, my favorite player is probably going to be playing for another team. Derrick Rose is my favorite player on this team right now. And then, after Derrick Rose is probably Jalen Brunson. But, so when Derrick Rose leaves, it'll be Jalen Brunson. But Derrick Rose is my guy. I really like Derrick Rose, but he's probably going to be playing for another team. And I get it. His time is up for the most part. His time is up. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time. And, just, stay tuned as we break down this offseason. And we're going to be on it because it has the chance to be a big offseason for the Knicks, but it could also stay pat. You know what I mean? So be ready for that too, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, I'm out of here. Appreciate the time. Be peaceful. And I'll probably see you either tomorrow or Thursday. Just look for the notification and you'll know when it is. The next show is going to be the off-season guide, the Knicks off-season guide. As we break down all of the Knicks assets and all that kind of stuff. So I'm out of here, folks. Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Knick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.